We've got the Orchis raid team, which is going to be a tech raid team. Reworks to Scientist Supreme, Lady Deathstrike, and then 3 new characters, Sentinel, Nimrod, and Omega Sentinel. One of the things that is making the Orchis raid nearly impossible, I don't want to say impossible, but not fun for the Pegasus team is the North Stars that they've conveniently placed on the maps, where he blocks the Pegasus team, or any team for that matter, getting speed bar. And this team here, there's ways with the number of Sentinels that are produced by Sentinel, the total speed of the team goes up, which is not speed bar. So that's like a cute way of getting around the North Star issue. Plus, there's a bunch of other things. Pretty excited about the rework on Scientist Supreme. Lady Deathstrike is mostly stats. Let's get into the kit and talk about it. Orchis, originally created to prevent mutant ascendancy over humanity, Orchis has been reborn in Marvel Strike Force to impose its technological will and raid. So it's a tech raid team. There's a lot of anti-mutant callouts in the kits. This new tech raid team will shine in the upcoming Orchis raids and is composed of both new and familiar faces that have been the scourge of many heroes. Our resident Sinister Scholar, Scientist Supreme, is taking a break from ISO 8 and story mission cutscenes to join Lady Deathstrike in leading 3 of the most ruthless mutant hunters known to Marvel, Sentinel, Omega Sentinel, and Nimrod. Sentinel is programmed to be an Orchis protector with high health and resistance stats to stand tall in front of its team. It shields the team by taunting on its first turn, so it's not on spawn, applying defensive and positive effects, and by calling in an army of Sentinel minions, which is going to be important. And what Sentinel it draws into battle has a different on-spawn effect, so there is going to be some RNG on this, but the number of Sentinels that are on the field is going to be important in the Nimrod kit, and to a certain extent in the Mega Sentinel kit as well, to help draw enemy fire. In raids, Sentinels get serious hardware upgrades. Yes, when Sentinel has 4 or more Orchis allies in raids, enemies can't gain death proof. And if a Sentinel reinforcement ally Sentinel has fallen in battle, it'll self-destruct on its next turn to revive the original Sentinel. Now, relatively slow, going to be the slowest member on the team at 107, but there's going to be other ways of enhancing that as we get to the Nimrod kit. I'm going to go all the way to the passive and start like that. On spawn and on revive, summon 1 Sentinel reinforcement ally. There are 2 possible summons, and we're going to go over the kits: reinforcement gun and reinforcement sword. One of the attacks removes turn meter, and this one here flips positive effects, but the on spawn effects, like this one has like a cleanse for the team, and this one here puts deflects. Other than that, the kits are largely the same. On this character's first turn, gain taunt, apply safeguard for 2 turns to self and all Orchis allies. Safeguard's amazing. In raids, if this character has 4 more Orchis allies, enemies cannot gain death proof. Now we're gonna look at the 2 different Sentinels real quickly here. The gun one, basic attack, has kind of like the red Ultron bot. Reduce speed bar by 10% on primary and adjacent targets. Both of the Sentinels gain taunt once they do their attack. And then there's ISO 8 counterattacks, which is going to be important because there's going to be a way of putting counterattack on the entire team. We're going to talk about that because that's part of the Sentinel kit as well. Attack primary targets for damage in raids. Reduce speed bar by 10% on primary targets. So that mirrors the basic attack. On passive, important. On spawn, flip all negative effects for self and all Orchis allies. The other one does not do that. And so there's going to be times where you're going to be praying for this, right? To flip all the negative effects on Orchis allies. That's great. They both do this on turn in raids. Generate 1 ability energy for a random non-summon tech ally that is not at full energy. Both the Sentinel spawns summons do that. On turn, if a Sentinel ally has died, not currently an ally, revive Sentinel with base health, then attack self for 100% of this character's max health and ignoring death proof. So he explodes, kind of like if you look at the wording on the Doom bots, they have similar wording about ignoring death proof and this and that. On non-summon tech ally turn, fill speed bar by 5%. So that is the same on the sword version. So we're going to go over the differences. I'm just going to talk about the differences. The kits are largely the same. The attack flips 2 positive effects to negative effects and apply bleed to the primary target. They still both apply taunt. And then here's the difference. On spawn, apply deflect to self and all Orchis allies, which is not as cool as a cleanse. Deflect is block. It says block the next attack, and block reduces the amount of damage by the block amount. In each character has a different block amount. Like some characters have higher block amounts, like Captain America. And then also deflect. You can't crit into deflect, is my understanding. I don't know if they changed that or not, but that's the way it was before. And then also increases or has a % chance of resisting negative effects. So it's a defensive mechanic. It's not as good as defense up, let's say, but it does a lot of similar types of things. Let's keep going, and we're going to go over the abilities. We're going to start with the ultimate on Sentinel, which is 4/4 elimination protocol. Summon 1 Sentinel reinforcement ally and 1 Sentinel reinforcement. So that's sword and gun. So this one summons each of them. So the gun one will clear negative effects, or flip them rather. And then this one will apply deflect. Attack primary adjacent targets for damage. Apply offense down. This attack gains 50% damage per Sentinel reinforcement ally. So there's going to be one random one on spawn, and then when Sentinel takes turn, although slowest member on the team, 2 more will be on the field. Special 4/4, summon a random one. So there's going to be times that you want the gun and other times that you want a sword. I think you're going to want the gun more often than not. Attack primary target for damage, bonus attack 3 times. Oof. Apply defense up for 2 turns and deflect yourself and all Orchis allies. And then there's the possible summons. Now, I think this is kind of interesting right here. Attack primary target for damage and apply offense down. Apply counter to self and all Orchis allies. And that applies to the ISO 8 counter attack assist attack right here. Apply counter to self and all Orchis allies. That seems very important. And I'm thinking that Striker is going to be the way to go. We will see if that plays out that way. Let's go to the Nimrod kit. Nimrod is pretty good, very fast, does a lot of cool things, and allows for the team to have more speed based on the number of the Sentinel summons on the board. Nimrod is an Orchis blaster, and his high damage and focus stats allow him to seek and destroy enemies in raid lanes. Along with punching holes into foes, Nimrod peppers them with negative effects. In raids, Nimrod abilities become oppressive. Nimrod and its Orchis allies gain speed for each summoned ally, and any successful attack by Nimrod or his Orchis allies apply heal block to their targets. Relatively, well, a little bit faster, 120, but we're going to talk about how that's going to jump up by 50% because of his passive, which is bonkers, or maybe I think actually in raids, maybe even 100%. Let's go down to the passive and read that. Unkill gains stealth. While this character has stealth, gain extra damage and crit damage. Gain 10% speed for each summoned tech ally up to a maximum of 50%. So on spawn, Sentinel's going to summon one of the Sentinel spawns, randomly one of the 2, right? And that's going to give 10% speed to Nimrod. So that'll take his 120 base speed and bump it up to 132. Cool. Then in raids, Orchis allies also gain that. I do want to say that summon tech ally. I don't know if there's going to be any way of doing shenanigans with Doom or Ultron, but that just came into mind that those have summons and they are tech as well. Maybe there'll be a way of doing something cool with Nimrod, with Ultron, and or Doom. We will see. So, gain speed for each summoned tech ally. That applies to him anywhere. And then in raids, the Orchis allies gain that speed boost as well. On successful attack by this character or any Orchis ally, apply heal block to each attacked target. Oh my god, I remember there being like a Sasquatch that just healed and healed and healed. That's going to be an answer to that. This character has 4 more Orchis allies, lower the dodge chance of all enemies by 100%. Dodge chance we're going to look at that is basically evade. Evade says dodge the next attack. And so that is going to make getting through all those evades a lot easier when you have a full Orchis team. Let's go to the ultimate. Eradicate, 3/5, attack primary adjacent targets for damage, apply defense down for 2 turns, and disruptive for 2 turns. In raids, gains additional crit chance against mutants. Of course, makes sense, right? Attack is unavoidable. The kit's actually kind of basic on him outside of his passive. Energy cost, 3/3, attack all enemies for piercing, flip all positive effects to negative effects on each target. Attack gains piercing per Sentinel reinforcement ally, so that's the summons. Apply ability block to primary target and raid, apply stun to the target. Apply ability block to all mutant targets. Fantastic. This attack cannot be dodged. And then his basic attack attacks primary adjacent targets for damage and defense down for 2 turns. Unavoidable. And that is also true on the isolate counterattack assist, the safety attack, if you will. So I'm thinking that Striker might be a good choice on Nimrod as well. We're going to go and talk about Omega Sentinel, which is support. Orchis support plays a key role in sustaining its Orchis allies. Each of its abilities applies regeneration to Orchis allies. And on its turn and each summon tech ally turn, Omega heals itself and each Orchis ally or applies barrier, which is kind of cool. If that ally has full health. So if they are at full health, they'll get barrier. That's pretty cool. I like that. But Omega Sentinel also dishes out painful attacks, which each of its ability, including its passive, at the end of a mutant enemy turn. Again, anti-mutant things built into the kit. Omega Sentinel will attack the most injured enemy. 125. So, we got speed. Lady Deathstrike's 127. Omega Sentinel's 125. Nimrod is going to be 120, and then Scientist Supreme is going to get a big boost to stats coming in at 118, and then Sentinel is going to be at 107. Let's go to the passive. On turn, in each summoned tech ally's turn, heal self and each Orchis ally for 10% of this character's max health. Whenever they take charge, they're going to be healed. If that ally's health is full, instead, barrier that ally for 10% of this character's max health. Now, each individual character can get up to 30% barrier, and that's 30% of the character's max health. So there is a cap to the amount of barrier, and there are kits, and we're going to read further, that lower that barrier amount or can increase the barrier amount, but it's relatively universal if it's not explicitly stated that cap is a 30% of max health for barrier. On mutant enemy turn end, attack the most injured enemy for 100% damage, which doesn't sound that great, but in raids it is 300% damage. On death, 30% chance to revive with 30% of this character's max health. In raids, if this character has 4 more Orchis allies, enemy characters cannot gain defense up. Yikes. If this character does not have ability block, this character and all Orchis allies cannot gain slow. Yikes. For each summon tech's ally, gain a much higher revive chance. So this means that Omega Sentinel, as long as there are a lot of those Sentinel summons that come from the Sentinel, then the revive chance is going to be pretty high. Lower max barrier of all enemies by 20%. And so the default amount is 30%. So this is going to be cutting it down in a third, down to 10%, which seems very impactful. Absolutely. Ultimate Nanoblast, energy cost 5/5, attack all enemies for piercing, bonus attack all enemies for piercing, apply stun to 2 turns to 2 random tech enemies. Wow. In raids, in that seems pretty good, even outside of raids, boy. Very specific as well. In raids, instead, apply stun for 2 turns to all tech enemies, heal self and all allies for 15% of this character's max health, heal self and all Orchis allies for additional 15% of this character's max health. Attack is unavoidable, and I'm thinking healer on Omega Sentinels, just as far as ISO. There's also healing in this ability right here, 3/3, primary target for damage, apply regeneration to self and all Orchis allies, apply defense up and speed up to self. And speed up is also a cute way of sidestepping that North Star problem, right? Because it's not speed bar. And all tech allies in raids apply defense up for 2 turns, speed up for 2 turns, offense up for 2 turns to self and all Orchis allies. Heal self and all allies for 15%. This character's max health. Heal self and all Orchis allies for additional 10% of this character's max health. So again, healer seems to be the way to go because the ISO counterattack doesn't seem over the top good, but maybe. But I'm just thinking healer initially. We'll have to see. Attack primary target for damage, rebound chain to 3 adjacent targets. Apply regeneration for 2 turns to self and all Orchis allies. In raids, deals an additional 30% down. Counterattack brace this chain. Unavoidable. And the regeneration for 2 self and all Orchis allies. Maybe that will be a good thing. I don't know. But, then you could do Striker to get that. But what's going to be better? Having more healing on the other abilities or having more regenerations? We'll have to test it. Unknown. Okay, we're going to go to Lady Deathstrike, which did not get a lot of changes to Lady Deathstrike's kit. Massive amount of stats, and so this is to be expected. Also worth noting that Lady Deathstrike has been historically relatively fast, 127, so that's great. So the special had this mechanic where if there was a kill, repeat this attack using new primary target randomly chosen from the previous secondary targets. This secondary attack can target stealth targets. This will happen always. They got rid of that on kill trigger. Like, I don't even remember this ever going off. It says repeat attack using new primary target randomly chosen from the previous secondary targets. Secondary attack can target stealth targets. Fantastic. And then the ultimate, this is a little bit disappointing because there was a lot of Weapon X callouts, and they did not extend all of them to Orchis. So like right here, this did not get extended to Orchis. Immunity did not get sent to Orchis. Well, here, let's just look at it right here. Clear on that. Nope, just Weapon X. Immunity self. Nope, just Weapon X. And then this attack cannot miss any target, has bleed. But then right here, this is where they added the Orchis part. So Lady Deathstrike is largely staying the same with the exception of getting rid of that on kill. Probably will still get use inside of Alliance War. I mean, Weapon X is still a team that gets some play, and these stat increases will be welcomed as well. Now, let's go to Scientist Supreme. Scientist Supreme needed an extreme overhaul. Oh, before I move on from Lady Deathstrike, because Striker seems so important on the other characters, historically, Lady Deathstrike has been Striker. I'm thinking about changing her to Raider because her safety attack is not as important. I mean, I think the thinking there was the bleeds and having Striker on a bleed character be important, but I'm open to the idea of changing her to Raider so that I can use Sentinel and Nimrod as Strikers. It's just what I'm thinking initially. My opinion on that could change, of course. Scientist Supreme. Pretty drastic rework, actually. This feels good. Not only massive stat increases, speed stat, which she was crippling slow, 97 to 118. Let's go to the passive first, because I think that's where the passive, let's just read all of it, right? So, Serum Pistol, basically before it was applied to random negative effects to primary target. Now, her kit is kind of bad because there's no attacks on any of the, like the special and the ultimate. There's no attacks. It's just the basic. Attack primary target for damage, apply offense down, defense down, slow, attack is unavoidable. So that's the changes from before. Then the old version, she gave negative effects, flip 4 negative effects, positive effects, all allies. Well, we're going to get to the ultimate here in a second. Apply regeneration to self and all aim allies for 2 turns. Increase duration of positive effects to self and all aim allies by 1 up to a maximum of 3. So this is changing to flip all negative effects into positive effect on self and all allies. That's great. For this character and all aim and Orchis allies, apply regeneration for 2 turns, immunity for 2 turns. Increase the duration of all positive effects by 1, a maximum of 3. Heal self and all allies for 15% of this max health. So that is probably going to be healer. I think I've got healer on Scientist Supreme already. Then, ability retro vaccination, which was a weird one. right? Where you could flip, like right here, heal all allies for health and 15% max health. Apply 2 to 3 random negative effects to all non-aim allies and all enemies for 2 turns. That was just a wild ability where it affected your team as well. They got rid of that. Gain extra focus, fine. Heal self and all allies for 20% of this character's max health, and raids heal for 30% of self. So again, healer sounds right. For all enemies and non-aim and Orchis allies, apply offense down for 2 turns, apply defense down for 2 turns, apply slow for 2 turns. In raids, apply trauma, apply speed up for 2 turns to self, which probably is going to be very important to self and all Orchis allies. This attack is unavoidable and gains extra focus. So there is a way of still putting negative effects on your allies, but the exemption is going to be aim and Orchis. Now, this is the one part of the kit that still may be negatively impacted by North Star. I noticed that the boss node does not have North Star on the boss mode. So this new on spawn, fill speed bar by 50%. That's going to be bonkers. Absolutely bonkers, even outside of raid. And I want to pull that up because Scientist Supreme now is 118 times 1.5, 177. Wow. So that's going to create a character that's going to be useful potentially in many game modes. I mean, turn-based game speed seems to be all the rave. That is very interesting to me. We'll have to see how that plays out on turn. Well, also, I want to say in raids, though, on the first 2 nodes of the Orchis raid, this is not going to proc. It's only going to be on the boss node where this is going to pop off. So the North Star passive is going to not work. On turn, generate 2 ability energy for all aim and Orchis allies with a negative effect. 25% chance to revive an ally with 30% max health. That was always fun. On ally summon, generate 1 ability energy for all Orchis allies. So that's going to be Sentinel. In raids, on spawn, generate 3 ability energy for self. On spawn, generate 3 special ability energy for all Orchis allies. This character and all Orchis allies cannot gain drama. And then mutant bio enemies cannot gain immunity. I mean, I feel like this is clearly designed for raids, but there are some things in these kits I'm wondering are going to get use outside of raids. We'll have to see. I'm not sure. Let me know what you think in the comment section. As always, thanks for watching. Bye for now.